This was my identity.
Nobody talks about how freaking hard it is to be a dentist. What most people talk about is how this affects the patient. What nobody talks about is how this affects us. Dentistry is ready for this. Now is really the time. Welcome back to Wellness in Dentistry. Today we're going to be talking all about expectations. What should our expectations be with our practice, with our family, with our team, with ourselves? I mean, we're going to go deep into this topic of expectation because it's something that has changed both of our lives, going into it, understanding it, and preparing for it better. So I'm one of your hosts. My name is Dr. Kyle Stanley. I'm a dentist, tech entrepreneur, speaker, and researcher. And I'm joined by your other host, Dr. Martin Mendelson. Martin is a disabled dentist, coach, speaker, and author. And his first book, One Move Makes All the Difference, is available wherever books are sold, and it's really good. And together, Martin and I have helped thousands of dental professionals pursue wellness in dentistry, and that's why we're talking about this stuff today. So, Martin, how are you doing?
I'm good. I'm excited to talk about this topic because it's been something that's plagued me my entire life. So,
Yeah. Well, before before I kind of have you take this, I want to say that I had an epiphany, I don't know when it was, a few years ago now, right before I went to bed, where I had this epiphany that everything that I was teaching came down to three things, which
hmm
was expectations, communication, and why can't I think of the last one?
boundaries.
Boundaries, yes, boundaries, expectation, and communication. And I was like, oh my gosh. And I was literally laying down. I woke up, I wrote it down, or I text myself or something like this. And expectations is a huge one. I mean, it is
Mhm.
massive.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts on this?
Recently it's been hitting me from all different sides. I'm hearing it from my coaching clients. I had an experience talking with a dear friend over the weekend, and just if we think about how powerful expectation is, and we'll give a lot of examples here as we talk today, it can be the bane of many of our existences because one of my newer keynotes and programs is actually same practice, different realities. And that has a lot to do with expectations. Like one of my clients recently was pretty upset because they had a light bulb that was burned out for a couple days, and their comment to me was, "Isn't it obvious it needs to be changed?" Well, what is that? That's an expectation that a team member sees the burned out light bulb and that then therefore they will change it. That's an expectation. However, did we address that expectation in terms of job descriptions or stated
SOP.
expectations,
Yep.
so it's everywhere. That's just a very minor example. So
So that example is, I think, a good example.
yeah.
And I think for all business owners, and really, I always bring it back to parenting. Uh, Parenting or dogs or anything. It's like it's funny
hmm
how they're all the same.
yeah.
What is the expression that like an unspoken expectation is a premeditated disappointment or something like
Yeah, yeah,
this?
yeah,
There,
yeah,
there,
yeah.
there's a quote that's probably way more profound than how I said it. But if you don't tell people what is expected of them,
Correct.
and then you get mad at them for
Yeah.
not doing the thing and just assuming, well, oh,
hmm
well, they should have known, right? You see a light bulb out, you fix it. But I think that's a great example because as you were saying that, I was thinking if we have that in our SOPs in my practice. And I
Yeah.
think we do because we are not the owners of the property. We are
Sure.
tenants.
hmm
We do have maintenance that takes
hmm
care of some of that stuff. And I can't remember if we have to buy the bulbs or not, and if we have to install them or not. But it's a great example because at my practice, because we have those maintenance people,
hmm
everyone may think, oh, the maintenance people take care of it.
hmm
But what it probably is, and I can't remember what it is at my practice, is we have to tell them
Right.
and then they have to do it,
Right.
right?
Right. Yeah. So
And
so the
I
SOP might be writing it on the board or writing on the list or whatever it is for you
Yeah,
all.
or calling
Yeah.
down to the front to the maintenance department and having them do that, and then verifying that they come and verifying that it's the right Kelvin of the other
Yep.
ones and all of those things. But it's so interesting how in dentistry we do get disappointed many times. And I think this is any business.
Hmm.
Many business owners get disappointed when their team members don't take ownership as much as they do.
Right.
And the thing is it's not their business.
Nope.
I mean, this is a job for many people.
Hmm.
When you find those hygienist assistants, front office team members that really feel like it's a calling or
Hmm.
really love what they do, I mean, they're incredible. They're worth their weight in gold.
Yep.
But so many times, I mean, I think about myself as being, when I first started I worked at a juice stop. For those of you that don't know, it's kind of like a Jamba Juice or a place where you make smoothies. And I really didn't give a shit, right? I was there in high
Yeah.
school. I worked with my best friend, and we
Right.
just messed around, and we were trying to meet girls and get smoothies and whatever. Like we were having a fun time. So for that business owner to be like, "Oh, why aren't they treating this like their business?" Like
Yeah.
dumb, and it's going to
Yeah.
put you in a place where you're always going to be disappointed.
Yeah. And let's remember it's not just team either, it's also patience. And so
Mm.
this is so multifaceted and frankly, I hadn't thought about this when we were talking before we hit record, but this really goes into so much of my work relative to positivity, optimism, mindset, my team framework, et cetera. Because when you think about it, there's so many expectations. Like you worked hard on that treatment plan. You're expecting them, if nothing else, to at least say yes to something. And you think to yourself, well, if it were me, I would do X because you're thinking as a dentist. And then they say no. And then you get upset, or they accuse you of padding the treatment plan to pay for your next,
Mm.
vacation or whatever it is.
Hmm.
So you got those expectations. Then you have expectations around how easy the procedure is supposed to go. And if it doesn't, then you're a shitty dentist or you had a quote bad day when, it was, maybe an hour of 8 of those hours. You
Hmm.
get the idea. So if we stop and think about it, there's so many things that we could actually label as expectation to start to kind of change the soundtrack of our daily experience if we chose to.
Give me some examples.
So let's go to the procedure example. Like I know I've talked about this, but it's been a while in one of our episodes. One of my clients, really great dentist, been doing it for over 20 years. And we get really upset internally when a procedure didn't go as expected. And he said to me, he was like, isn't this supposed to be easier? And my response with a big smile on my face was, should it? Like, who made that rule? And so if you think about sitting in the expectation saying, this should be easier, what kind of thoughts might then come to your head, Kyle, if you're thinking this should be easier? What kind of thoughts? What do you think?
Yeah, like I'm not progressing clinically. I've been doing this for so
Yeah,
long. Maybe this
right.
isn't natural to me.
Yeah, right. Versus, whoa, I didn't expect this. This is kind of interesting. I wonder why this happened. I wonder what's actually going on here. I wondered maybe you could even say, maybe what did I miss? So when I figure that out, I won't miss it next time. Like, can you even just feel the emotional difference between those two types of statements? And so that's the kind of thing I'm talking about.
So coming at disappointment with curiosity.
Yeah, basically.
And that could be from your team, from your patients, from your
Yeah,
spouse, from your kids, whatever.
yeah. And it could even be, as far as going into things with less of an attachment to a result. What do I mean by that? So you're going to go and do this difficult procedure. it's not necessarily, man, this is going to be amazing. Now, there's nothing wrong with a little bit of excitement, so don't get me wrong. But there's a difference between like, oh my God, this is going to be amazing. And then the first minute something doesn't go right, you're like, oh man, I thought this was going to be so amazing. This sucks. Versus, wow, let's see how this is going to go today. Whatever happens, I'm going to deal with it. Like, it's a completely different mindset, right?
It's interesting you say that. I was listening to a podcast last night on the way home from playing hockey, and they were talking about the there was a really old book, I think from like the 60s or 70s about positivity, positive
Mm.
thinking. And it basically was saying to what they were teaching in that book at the time was to be excited for the things that you're thankful for, and
Mhm.
also be excited for the challenges that are coming.
Yeah.
And I was really thinking about it because it was late at night. I was the only one on the street, and I was really like deep into this
Mhm.
podcast. And I was thinking like, I like the idea of that, but it also sounds kind of challenging too, to to be excited and almost like, let's take it on, like bring it
Mhm.
on,
Yeah.
bring on the bad shit too.
I think it's just honestly a shift in thinking because you're having thoughts anyway. So what difference does it make
Why not
which
make them
ones?
positive?
Yeah. And remember, I hope everybody knows, or if you're new here, I'm not I very much rail against toxic positivity, which is good vibes only. That's a load of crap because happiness is a comparative emotion and you can't understand or really feel sorrow without experiencing happiness and the other way around. So it's not about rah rah sis boom bah all the time. What it's really more about is thinking about these emotions as tools and almost thinking like you're sitting on the side of a babbling brook and it's kind of like going by you and you're like, oh wow, that's interesting.
Hmm.
And so it's more about engaging with it, but not jumping into it, to continue with the kind of babbling brook analogy.
I love that babbling brook analogy, and I think about it often
Mm.
because having been alongside you teaching Lightside Live many
Mhm.
times, which we forgot to talk about. We forgot to
Oh
announce
yeah.
that. Yeah. So surprise, we're doing Lightside Live again. No, November 6th and 7th. Is that right?
Yes, in
And
Phoenix,
this is the first
Arizona.
time it's going to be in Phoenix, Arizona. So for
Mhm.
those of you that don't know, that is our 2-day transformational CE course. You get 12 CE credits. You get to spend 2 days with us. We work all on leadership and positivity and mental resilience and all the shit that no one else teaches
Yep.
in dentistry that most dentists actually have problems with. So
Mhm.
you can click on the links below. It'll have all of
Yep.
our links there. Or go to
And and
wellnessanddentistry.com and everything will be there.
and this is a special one because it's in my hometown, so I'm bringing cookies. I'm just
That's
saying.
right. One thing that we have focused on this first part of this episode is really expectation, like our expectations that we're setting with
Yeah.
ourselves. And I'd really like to talk because a lot of what I teach is expectations with others,
Yeah, yeah.
and especially with patients.
Yeah.
This has been a big thing that I was poor at, which is why I'm such a proponent of it now,
Mm.
is setting expectations with patients. And it's the same thing as how we think about it with ourselves. Like you're talking about coming at it with curiosity, um, not setting yourself up for disappointment many times.
Mhm.
And I think that is the thing that we have to do with patients too, which is set expectations low for our patient.
Sure. Yeah.
And then most of the time, you're going to blow them out of the water and they're
Mhm.
going to think you are a god. They're going to think
Yeah.
you're amazing. You're the best dentist in the world. Oh my gosh, you told me it would take 3 times to get this right and you did it right on the first try. And this has been a really big revelation for me and for the, hundreds of other people that you and I have taught, thousands, I guess, at this point, thousands of other people that we've taught, um, is setting these low expectations with patients and finding patients that have realistic expectations,
Yeah.
and then having a great relationship with those people.
Well, and I will also say kudos to you having conversations around what you call a treatment agreement. And
Hmm.
so I know that's in your stuff that you teach online and in some of your courses as well, but having a defined treatment agreement every single time is so critical because if you don't say it, you can't assume they understand it.
Well, dentists get mad about this so often. They're
Yeah.
like, oh my gosh, they assumed that after 5 years that I would cover this for free. And it's like,
Hmm.
well, did you tell them that that wasn't the case? Right?
Right.
No, but they should know that, right? And
Nope.
listen, I was a dentist just like that. I was a dentist like they should know that like if this happens, then I shouldn't cover it, right? It's not guaranteed for life. You chew 1,000 meals a year on this, and
Mhm.
I'm supposed to just cover it, whatever happens, right? And it sounds dumb, but we need to say this to people because
Yeah.
we live in dentistry every day and our patients do not. They
Yep.
see us, I mean, maybe twice a year, right?
Hmm.
And it's for a few hours. Like we are the experts. We need to tell them what the expectations are.
Not only that, but I mean, the same exact talk track goes to your team. And, some just occurred to me that hadn't occurred to me in this way before. So, how many times have you heard yourself say it? Because I have. Or you've heard from our colleagues. I told them this 20 times and they still don't get it.
Hmm.
And so this goes back to like some of the neuroscience stuff, but let's make it even more elementary than that. You're telling someone something, for example, etch comes before prime and bond, as an example,
Uh-huh.
right? They have absolutely no context for potentially what the etch is doing, why
Hmm.
it's coming first, the implications of if it gets too dry or too wet, et cetera, et
Hmm.
cetera, et cetera. So you're asking someone, and this is the part I never thought of before, to remember something completely out of context. How long do you think that's going to stick to some? And it's almost as if you're asking someone to memorize a sentence in Swahili and they don't speak the language.
Hmm.
Like they have no context that this word comes before that word because this is a verb and this is a noun. I mean, like, I don't know. What do you think? Am I nuts or
Well,
does this
do
make
you
sense?
think that, I mean, in that example, do you think that our hygienists should understand bonding?
Not necessarily. I mean, it depends on their education, right?
Hmm.
Um,
Do you think that we should teach them? I'm just going off of this example. Do you
yeah,
think that
yeah,
we
yeah.
should teach them a basic understanding of that? Like
I
the etch makes the holes, and
I
then the
think it would be
bonding
helpful. Yeah, I think it would be helpful.
allows the holes to be filled with a resin and
Mhm.
you know,
I think what I'm more, I thank you for the question because it's clarifying things for me. I think what I'm thinking about and really truly saying is this. We have an expectation that we told somebody X number of times and they're still not getting it. And so the expectation is what? I told you, therefore you should remember it. I
hmm.
guess what I was trying to say without realizing it is the expectation shouldn't necessarily be I told you should so you should remember it. I think we need to flip it to I told them so I thought they should remember it, but what's missing that's not allowing them to remember it?
Good question. And so do you think that next step of what is missing would be either a checklist or a consequence or something like that?
I honestly think it could be asking the question relative to what would make most sense for them because people are different types of
Yeah.
learners, right?
Hmm.
So like and I want to be clear too. Like I'm not saying you need to give everybody slack forever. I mean, there's a limit here, right?
Yeah.
But I think sometimes we give up kind of easily and we don't provide the context. And so I think the conversation could go something like, listen, we have talked about this 3 times. there seems to be a challenge in remembering what comes first, second, or third. Where do you think the challenge lies for you? Or where do you think you're running into a problem remembering? Please don't say, why can't you remember it?
Yeah.
Because why questions, for those who've been in my courses before, why questions are kind of the questions that are asking for the person to tell you the story they made up in their head.
Mm-hmm.
Versus, what about this has become challenging that we're not remembering X, Y, or Z? Or
Mm-hmm.
what would be helpful to you to remember X comes before Y comes before Z?
Mm-hmm.
You know, would a checklist be helpful? Would understanding the why
Chemistry.
behind we
Mm-hmm.
do X before Y versus Z? Like, what do you think would help cement in your brain better?
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Well, um, this just happened. I think you were on the call last week on our mastermind call for Lightside, and it was a dentist that asked for, I think it was bonding, and the
Oh, yeah.
the assistant unscrewed the top
Yeah.
of the bonding and let, $90 worth
Hmm.
of bonding
Hmm.
out. And
Hmm.
for every
Hmm.
dentist listening to this, it's like
Ah,
multiple dollars per drop on that
yeah,
stuff, right?
exactly.
And I think both of you and I were talking with this person
Hmm.
and saying, like, do they know how much that stuff costs? And she
Hmm.
said, well, yeah, they're the ones doing the ordering
Hmm.
too.
Hmm.
And I guess did we set the expectation with that? Do they know that this stuff is gold? We only use what we need. We can always put more,
Yeah.
but we should put as little as possible that we actually need. One drop is what it should be. And then,
Hmm.
of course, we do checklists, we do consequences based on that.
Hmm.
We set the expectations
Hmm.
as much
Hmm.
as we can. I'm going back and rethinking about some of those. I told them to do this 10 times.
Yeah,
Another
yeah,
one that I don't remember if you were on the call was for another person in our mastermind talking about putting the cap on some kind of alcohol or
yeah. I remember
something.
that one. Yeah.
And if you have the cap off the alcohol, then it evaporates. And alcohol is
Hmm.
really expensive, actually. It's surprisingly
Hmm.
expensive.
Hmm. Hmm.
And I remember in that call, we had talked about that there wasn't really a checklist. There wasn't really an expectation set.
Yeah, yeah,
And, the many of the people that we're working with as assistants have high school educations.
yeah,
They don't know any of that stuff.
yeah,
And so I think the hard part with we dentists that are practice owners too is we don't like babysitting people
right.
and we like people to take ownership.
Yep.
But we also have to remember that like I'm trying to figure out how to not make this sound rude, but that sometimes you're not dealing with the same level of education or care or I don't know. It's like we want to work with all people that are doctor level
Yeah,
education, right? And it's
yeah.
just not the case.
No, and it goes back to same practice, different realities. Like the brain is a prediction machine. And so people end up interacting and acting in situations based upon previous experience, level of education, where they come from, what they've been through, like all the above. Let me give you a different example. You haven't even heard this one. And then I'd like to come back to the others because I think the others are important because Lord knows we both heard and both experience. I know I have, the assistant that puts out 8 times more material than we need.
Yeah.
So one of my coaching clients discovered they were wondering why their expenses were so high. And what they discovered was they didn't have a leaky bucket. They had a bucket without a bottom on it relative to overtime. But
Mm.
it was a little bit here and a little bit there. And so what they discovered was the equivalent of this leak, 5 minutes here, 20 minutes there, et cetera, was the equivalent of, you ready for this? 2 additional full-time hygienists a
Holy moly.
month.
Yeah.
And, and so one of the things that this individual was thinking of saying was like, that's $2 a minute, et cetera. And I was like, wait a minute, we need to put this into context that the other people are not only going to forget about the word understand, embrace. So he said, listen, because this challenge was that it was a little bit here and a little bit there. There wasn't anybody that this person felt was overtly trying to push the clock, right? And this wasn't a place where there's a lot of traffic, so that had something to do with it too. So we kind of landed on the conversation like this. It's like, hey, listen, no harm, no foul. We understand that you're getting here early to set things up. We understand that you're doing this, that is the third thing. We want to share with you the actual numbers, the data. And so what we realized is through nobody's, nefarious actions, it's 5 minutes here, 10 minutes there, 20 minutes here. And what ends up happening is when we add this all up, would y'all believe it's the equivalent of being able to hire two more hygienists? And so that was the way, and there was a little bit more detail to it than that, but that was the way that we chose to couch it, not $2 a minute, et cetera. Because what do they care about $2 a minute,
Yeah.
right?
That sounds
So,
like a really challenging conversation because you come off as looking cheap.
well, if you do it wrong,
Yeah.
if you do it wrong, because there was discussion of other discussions relative to, people being able to take time off, the patients not being able to get in anywhere, et cetera, et
Hmm.
cetera. So to be clear, it was within the umbrella of that discussion because it's like, look, do we realize if we can figure this out, we have the ability to actually get some help that everybody was asking for?
Hmm.
So it was within that construct, right? So any additional comments before we kind of extrapolate this onto the other thing?
I don't think so.
Okay. Because again, it was like the other part of the discussion, which I didn't share, was like, what else do we need to make sure that your day goes more smoothly? And this owner was willing to kind of eliminate this one thing that they were mandating and maybe get some help here. So there was a lot of good conversation about it, right? I think within the confines of materials, even with the person that was ordering it, I don't think they understand that if you're charging, to use very simple round numbers, $100 for a single surface restoration, that you're keeping $100 of it. Like they don't get
That's a good
that.
point. That's a good point.
So they think, let me rephrase, some think that we're swimming in money,
Hmm.
which is not the case. And
Hmm.
so I like to kind of put it in terms, depending on the situation, that might hopefully better resonate with that individual, right? And so it's like, look, I know you're the one that orders the material. I know you know that it's $100 a bottle. And when we dispense as much as you've been dispensing on average, we could actually treat, you know, 10 additional patients or whatever the number is
Hmm.
for the amount that you dispense per patient. What are your thoughts on that?
Hmm.
What do you need to help you potentially not dispense as much? I don't think this was the case, um, but I know that I've dispensed all kinds of products, whether it's hair products, home repair stuff, whatever, and you're trying to get a little out, and the next thing you know, it's like,
Yeah, right.
right? Now, I'm not trying to find an excuse for this person, but I do think that that's something that needs to be taken into consideration. At least ask the question, like,
Hmm.
how much control do you feel you have when you're attempting to dispense it, right?
I mean, one of the big takeaways that I'm taking away from this episode, and I've heard you say it before,
Mhm.
is what questions and not why questions.
Yeah.
I'm just thinking of incorporating that more into my personal life too, especially with
Mm-hmm.
my kids.
Mm-hmm.
I want to talk. uh, s- So, um, there's a prosthodontist that I worked with for many years.
Mm-hmm.
His name's Saj Jivraj. I don't know if you know Saj.
No, I don't. I love his name though. It's very
Yeah, I know it's
rhythmic. I
very
love it.
whimsical.
Yeah.
Saj Jivraj. Yeah, my
I love
wife even
it.
is like Saj Jivraj. She remembers his name, right? And he and I were outside of a Noble Biocare key opinion leader meeting one time, and we were talking about stuff. And I think this was when I was first starting to talk about
Mm-hmm.
um, mental health and mental resilience and this kind of stuff. And he said, I love what you're talking about, this stuff. And he said, I know you have a young family, and I know got married in the last 5 years and stuff. And he said, I would love to give you some advice. And I said, please. And he said, he was talking about marriage. And he said, people say marriage is 50-50. You give 50, they give 50, and everybody's happy. And he said, really, one of the ways to be happy in a relationship is to give 100 and expect zero. And I've never forgotten that.
Mm-hmm.
And there's times when I feel like I'm giving 100 and getting zero,
Mm-hmm.
or getting 100 and giving 100 and getting 75
Mm-hmm.
and feeling very good about it. And I wonder if this is something that we could also bring into this topic of expectations into the dental practice as well. But, of course, we don't want our patients giving zero. We don't want
Yeah.
our team giving zero. But I just wanted to throw that out and see your thoughts on this.
I think it's really interesting and kind of an inspired comment because what it's acknowledging is that life isn't always the same. And what I didn't hear you say, which I know you believe, is that sometimes you're getting 100 and
Mm,
giving zero,
hmm
like if you're sick or whatever, right?
hmm Right.
So I think it's a reality to relationships and does go back to expectation because are you giving 100% because you're expecting to get 100 back? Or are you giving 100% in the case of a marriage because you love your spouse?
hmm
Are you giving 100% clinically because that's the right thing to do? Or are you giving 100% clinically because you expect this patient to magically understand clinical dentistry and be like, oh my God, doctor, your margins are beautiful? Like, come on, man.
Yeah.
Um, but I think the same goes for our team too. And and sometimes it doesn't make it any easier. I can tell you, I've dealt with this around the holiday time over and over and over again, where I hear the doctor say, we did this, that, and the third thing for the team, and all I got was this lousy t-shirt.
hmm
And my response always is, that makes sense. Sounds like there's an emotional attachment here. What was the main reason that you chose to give your team blah, 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 blah? Typically, the answer is, well, because they work so hard all year.
hmm
My next question is, oh, that's really cool. So, how does their work in the past that you're rewarding have something to do with the fact that you were given X versus Y? And so we have this conversation around expectation. And it's like, did you give the gift, the dinner, the whatever, because you expected to get something back?
hmm
Or are you doing it out of a reflection and recognition for what these people have done for the practice over the last year?
hmm
So it's very similar to
Yeah.
that.
Gosh, that whole topic of end of the year parties and bonuses
Yeah,
and all of that is
yeah.
brings back some bad memories for me. But
Mhm.
I fixed it. But at the
Yeah,
time, being a poor leader, that was a stressful time.
yeah,
And I like what you said about how you should be doing that stuff because you want to and because you think they deserve it and you want to
yeah,
treat them well
yeah.
and not expect anything back. Like I never expected anything back from my team, sometimes my team would get me stuff and I would be like, I know how much you make. You shouldn't be buying this for me.
Yeah, 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 yeah.
And that was just their love language or whatever, you know?
Exactly. Yeah. It's a hard thing because look, I see it in this way because I'll give you one guess. I've been the opposite for a lot of my life. Like a lot of my life, I would get disappointed in my relationships, in large part my friendships, um, where I would feel like I gave and gave and gave, and I didn't feel like I was getting anything back. And then I had to sit back and be like, well, why am I doing this? Well, I'm doing it because this is something I want to do because this is who I am. And so if I'm getting upset about, to use a term, reciprocity, then what the hell was I doing it for to begin with?
Hmm.
And so it's really, really, really hard to be that honest with yourself. But when it comes to this kind of thing, expectation, reciprocity, well, I did this, shouldn't they do that? Should they? Like, who the hell made that rule? So it could be a hard pill to swallow, but here's the thing I hope people will take away from this, amongst maybe a couple others. But we bear such a cost, and it can be so exhausting to sit in that expectation place and ask me how I know that. I made a decision not to be so exhausted anymore because sitting in that space, particularly if you aren't expressing what you need out of a work or familial or romantic relationship, if you're not expressing what you need, well, that's on you. That's not on the other person.
It's so true. It's going back to controlling what you can control and not worrying about
Mhm.
what you can't control.
Yeah. Now you see why I was so bullish to talk about this today.
Yeah, no, I mean, so many things are coming through my head. First of all,
Yeah.
when I'm thinking of some of my friendships where I feel like I consider them very close, but they don't consider me very close.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
I have some friends like that that just came to my head, like some of my friends from college that I think of like, oh my gosh, I think of them as such good friends, but then they never invite us when they hang out by themselves,
Yeah.
you know, and I think like, oh, that's kind of weird. But like
Yeah.
when they're in town, I would like to I want to invite them, you know.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I'm not going to go into details, but for those who've seen me lecture before, I was talking about my best friend David, and I had a lovely conversation with him yesterday, and he very, very kindly was like, "Well, what do you think about maybe changing your expectation around this thing?" And I was like, "Oh my God." So yeah, that's where this
I
all
mean,
came from,
that's what
folks.
a good friend will do, will be to
Yeah.
make you rethink about how you're feeling. I know you and I have done that to each other many times. We're going
Yeah,
through
we
something
have.
hard and we text each other and we say, well, you know, have you thought about that
Hmm.
XYZ or have you considered
Yeah.
that something, something, something? And
Yeah.
you need those people in your life. And as you were talking about the exhaustive cost that we
Hmm.
bear with these expectations, I was just thinking of how much of a skill it is to have that internal reflection.
Oh, it's a learned skill.
Yeah, and that's what I want to tell people on this is you people may listening and be like, oh gosh, like I couldn't I can't think about it that quickly and it doesn't hit me until later where I've already, you know, bared that cost, bared,
Hmm.
bored,
Hmm.
that cost, whatever the past tense of bear is,
Yeah.
that cost. And now I'm like, I'm still sitting in it.
Hmm.
But I want to tell you that it is a skill to have that faster reflection on your emotions. And ask me
Hmm.
how I know, because mine has gotten better. It's not
Yeah.
perfect, but it's definitely gotten better.
Yeah.
And that's a big step in this mental resilience game, this mental health game is realizing when you're going through
Hmm.
something, recognizing it, and then having the skills to change that thought or to change that communication pattern or to change that ability. But you have to have that realization first.
Well, and I could even say, a simple step to start with is choosing not to react in the moment. And when I say react in the moment, I mean choosing not to have that conversation in the moment, giving yourself the space to actually think about it, to then come back to it later, because that will start to build the skill and you're not, shall we say, putting the cart before the horse by continuing to react and continuing to communicate in that expectation place. You're at least giving yourself the space to be like, you know what? I'm not going to say anything right now because I want to think about this later, and then making the commitment to yourself to then come back to that team member, that patient, that loved one, et cetera, later. Maybe that would be a good first step for people because, yeah, those knee-jerk reactions, those knee-jerk thoughts
Are
are
rarely the
are
right things.
yeah, they're a habitual pattern, right? So
Yeah.
good luck in changing those immediately,
Hmm.
but you can over time. And so maybe I guess the point to this commentary right now is take control of your actions that are coming from those thoughts so that you have time to have different thoughts that could then therefore create different actions, I guess
Yeah.
is the idea.
Well, when I think about the summary of what we talked about today, I think the first thing that really hit me was coming at situations with curiosity.
Hmm.
I mean, this is something that I have to constantly be reminded of. That is the skill that I think I need to get that into my thinking pattern earlier.
Yeah. Yeah.
Not only expectations that you're setting, but expectations that you may not be setting with patients, I think is a big
Hmm.
one too, because of course we have to think about team members, our own expectations, but also what we set with other people in our lives and
Yep.
how that impacts us, expectations with ourselves. What questions, not why questions, when talking in some of these
Hmm.
more high
Hmm.
emotional situations, crucial conversations, if you will.
Hmm. Hmm.
And I really like the last thing you said, the exhaustive cost that we bear
Hmm.
when our expectations are too high or we just don't set expectations.
Or we have expectations we've never communicated,
Right, right. Yes.
right?
That is that we're
Like,
thinking of it.
yeah, like let's say this is not the case with us, but let's say I said to you, you know, Kyle, I would really like it if you would text me every once in a while.
Hmm.
Oh, I didn't know. Well, what do you mean by that? Well, you know, blah. So like if you don't have the conversation, how do you expect the other party to understand what it is you need, right?
So true.
Incredibly
That
exhausting.
cost, I think, is something that we don't think about. And I like how you said that too. It's like
Mhm.
that cost that we bear.
Yeah, yeah.
So
And just
what is worse for you? Is it the cost that you bear, or is it the risk you take by having that conversation? Because
so
I know that conversation is challenging, right?
you just made me think about something Frank Spear always says. Um, and I'm going to butcher it, but basically the idea is, you know, people change when the cost of staying the way you are is greater than the cost of changing. And
Yep,
so that's basically what you were talking about, right?
totally.
Um, and I think the universal example to like keep in your mind is like when you're driving a car and somebody cuts you off and you're like, asshole. And it's like, wait a minute, think about why you said asshole. You're assuming they saw you. You're assuming they did it on purpose. You're assuming blah, 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 blah. And so it's kind of this universal construct. Think about other areas in your life in the same way. If you're reacting in a knee-jerk fashion, what are you thinking that's causing the reaction? Oh, they did it on purpose. I told them 20 times. They know better. You know, they don't appreciate me. They, you know, think money grows on trees. It's like, whoa. All of those are assumptive expectation type thoughts, right?
Hmm.
So,
Yeah, no, this is a great topic.
mhm.
Well, guys, if you want to go deeper into topics like this, you want to work with Martin and I one-on-one, definitely come and join us November 6th and 7th. I'm going to get that right. November 6th and 7th in Phoenix, Arizona in
Yeah,
November. I mean, when it's starting to be freezing cold and snowing in all these other states,
yeah,
come to Phoenix and it'll be like 75 and
yeah.
and
And
beautiful.
homemade cookies, you
And
know?
homemade cookies from
And
Martin.
and shout out to AZ Perio for being our glorious hosts. We want to thank
Yes.
them. and also to Care Credit for helping to support us as well at this time. So
Yeah.
super excited. And don't forget, it's 12 CE credits for joining us over those 2 days. So,
Yeah, and people that take this course consistently tell us this is the best course and most important course they've taken in their entire career. Some of those people have been practicing 30, 40 years. So
yep,
that's not us tooting our own horn. That is other people tooting it for us.
yep.
So check out the show links. Go to wellnessanddentistry.com. You'll see all the links there. And we hope to see you on the next episode.
Bye bye.